It really does feel like the culmination of 6 years of my life. Just, it's weird.
And then you stop and you see her, and when Finn sees her, we go this, and then you guys head off. You know, you guys come together.
I was going through it thinking, God, could I have done anything differently? But I know I've put the work in. Like, I could not have worked harder. I don't think I could have enjoyed it anymore either.
Camera. Beware. Here we go. Set on. Everybody, celebration. 5 rounds.
The most heartwarming thing is the collaboration within these studios and these sets and the crew. And you make friends who become family, and that's something for me that's just a big major thing to let go. Because, you know, this doesn't just represent the story, this also does put an end to a kind of season in our lives.
Thank you so much for all of your work and your patience and your focus and your dedication and the honesty and the
race theme for Daisy. That's for you.
Okay, that's
all right.
Huge.
You see here?
I think I'm gonna cry.
Don't get any fingerprints on it.
Oh, come on.
That's her first page.
He's had 51 Oscar nominations, and we thought,
It's fascinating to watch an actress come into a role like Ray and to be 19, 20 years old. Even the idea of getting strong physically, all of that was new. And now as she's emerging as a powerful Jedi, and you're watching her as Daisy actually move through that process, there's an interesting parallel.
Dialogue.
I went into it knowing that I wanted to be healthy, doing stuff that literally feels good for your body. So I was sort of combining a number of things. So I was doing...
Was your enemy.
as she's walking out, we'll sort of arm out as we're extending.
Circumstance pits them against each other, but the force bonds them together.
You'll walk out basically maybe this direction.
Yeah.
And the saber is in your hand here, yeah. So try the other, turn the other way, please. That's actually probably better. That way I get the saber coming across camera.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They understand each other almost from a point of view of fate, and yet fate has made them enemies.
And 3, 2, 1, go. Got it. I'm holding so this. It would be cool to do a couple versions.
It's tougher emotionally than I thought it would be. The stuff with Adam always has been so emotional, trying to find that balance of feeling the light side but also feeling the draw to the dark side.
I love my life. I love my job.
It's beautiful, beautiful. I'm so excited. Oh my God.
He learns it over the course of the movie that they're two halves of the same thing. I think it just, if anything, reaffirms what he knows intuitively and has known for a while, but hasn't been able to articulate until he can.
Girl, let's go. Come on, time to go.
The fight felt so ferocious. It needed to be really full of like rage and incomprehension and all of that. Rey needs to go on her own very individual journey. That side of things doesn't involve Finn, doesn't involve Leia, doesn't involve Poe, no one else. The thing that became more challenging is we were being doused in water cannons and it was November in England.
The water would come. I would be like, I can't breathe, kind of cold.
Hot water bottle. It's freezing. That was fun.
It was really physically exhausting, and you were like wet and soaked and cold and on wires. I loved it, you know. It's like, how many times are you gonna get a chance to do that?
I did want to murder Dom special effects because there were a few times where they said no water cannons. And when I say mid-scene, literally a dump of water on my head.
I remember watching the top of the water just starting to come over. And I watched it like slow motion as it rained down on Daisy. And the true professional that she was, she carried on, but I could see in her body that she kind of tensed because it was gold. And as the water settled and they said cut, she shouted out very loudly, "Dominic!" Which I didn't want to be on the set at that moment in time.
But then people really thought I was really tough after that. And JJ was like, you have so much crew respect, so it was great.
It was actually my birthday one of those days. I don't know if that means anything. It's not like I wanted to kill her more because it was my birthday. But it was really exciting. You know, huge water cannons are shooting how many thousands of gallons. You're exhausted, you're tired. It's like, it's great. That's when you...
There is this idea of the handing on of sabers and the handing on of a Jedi legacy. And so we have that, I think, as a generation that has inherited the characters and the stories. Just like in Star Wars, it's a privilege and it's a responsibility.
Take your saber. Look at it.
Doing it felt really emotional, because it's like a lovely emotional thing anyway. And it's uplifting and it's a proper end, like it is a story end. It's not tune in for the next episode sort of thing. Rey Skywalker.
Cut. Good morning. Thank you. That was great, Dan. Beautiful. God. Come on.
Before, there's someone who has the absence of hope. And the thing that we started with for who is Ben then is someone who has hope. There's no more ambiguity about what it is that he has to do. There's no more seesaw that's happening. For the first time, someone who's never had the answer now finally knows his purpose or destiny. He has to let her know that they're together. But I don't know that he entirely is sure what's going to happen from there. Nor do I think he cares. I think it's so long as he's with her, he's on the right path.
Leia's Jedi trial happens in Episode 9. The end of her path as a Jedi is fulfilled when her son turns back to the light. The hope at the beginning of the film that Sidious articulates is that the dyad would come together on the dark side, but the reversal is that the dyad does come together, and it is as powerful as we expected, but they come together on the side of the light.
One of the surprises and delights for me personally is seeing Adam get to play Ben in this film. The great tragedy is that we don't have him for very long in the story, but when you do, you know, you feel the potential of the person he could have been.
Scene with Kelly just right now at the end of the movie where it's kind of like my life, like things have kind of fallen apart a little bit, but we're still here, and it's still important that we're here even though we miss our loved ones, and it's kind of like a perfect scene for me to do. It's nice. We're having a full moment. This was so magical. I love Kelly so much, and it was such... Oh my god, that was so weird. Did you just cue her? I literally was like, I love Kelly. They said, what's the best moment? And I was like, it's this moment right now.
You run in, you're like, Chewie!
Put her down, and then we do girl talk. Yes.
I'm a little bit in shock that we're about to wrap. I feel so grateful and lucky that we have gotten this far, that our crew is so
balance of the Force is never a permanent, enduring thing. So the idea that this is a story of a character who needs to step up and bring balance in her own way. If you had asked me, you know, in the middle of doing Seven, where would we go with Rey, I would say that the headlines would be exactly the same.
With Rey, writing a theme for her, she was a little more than a child in number 7. Her metamorphosis, if you like, from 7 to 9, she's an adult now. She's become a magnificent woman. I can treat it in the orchestra so that it's in a more grown-up way. So you will hear it, but it's not quite as simply presented.
Find Kylo the most assured of the choices that he's making, going deeper and deeper into the dark side. The thing that JJ said to me when we first met was that I imagine a journey of a character where it's almost the opposite of Vader. Someone who almost starts the most vulnerable and kind of gradually becomes closer to his convictions, more assured about his choices, has metaphorically and physically killed his father.
The unique and very deeply emotional and troubling way in which Han Solo meets his fate helps realize the full potential of the character that Adam Driver plays.
What is it in the human brain that gives us the capacity to be as evil as human beings have been?
Right from episode 7, from the scene in which Rey is interrogated by Ren, it's clear that they have a connection, that they understand each other, that they can literally read each other's minds. They're made uncomfortable by it, and yet they're both drawn to each other. Of course, episode 8 furthered it by creating the idea of force connection, and I think what we wanted to do was complicate that. Say, actually, their connection is deeper than that. We began talking about them as a mythic concept, which is in Joseph Campbell, which is the mythic dyad, that they're two parts of the same whole. And then finally, we began talking about how if the dyad ever came together, its power would be immeasurable.
She's so crazy powerful with the Force, you know, so quickly. For us, we always felt that there was a connection between her and something that would help explain some of these things.
Obviously, you know, it needs to feel like she is really contemplating it, and that the need for revenge, it sort of overtakes everything else, which it does for a moment, and then she's sort of reminded of what it all means and what's at stake.
I hadn't seen him in his garb till on the day, and it was awesome.
The way it's described in the script is so creepy and so weird and unsettling. I just want to see Ian be the Emperor again. I'm really excited about that.
Eunice came up and made a point, which is, this is how we met Rey, on a sled. Obviously, I had thought about it, but not really the cyclical thing of starting and ending a story in the same way.
I think everybody recognizes that there are giants whose shoulders they're standing on, and a story That's informing who these characters are.
My young Jedi.
I like these films. I like that I was there.
We all realized that it would take more of these films to bring the story full circle.
To see not just my character, but every last character that you've been introduced to since the very beginning find their destiny. It's exactly how it had to be.